Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is April 16th, 2020, and yesterday Matt Wagner, Senior Producer over at Eagle Dynamics, had returned a slew of questions which I had thrown his way probably about a month and a half ago. So these guys are really busy, and a couple of the questions I had asked were before 2.5.6 open beta had dropped and before the new lighting stuff had dropped. So some of the questions may seem dated that are in here because of that. But I think it's a really good read. And a number of the questions I had asked were questions a while ago that I had asked viewers of my YouTube channel to give me some ideas and suggestions for questions to ask Eagle Dynamics. And excuse me, I went in and I put in as many of those questions that I thought were really good, and I sent them over to Matt Wagner as well. And this is the result of the interview. Basically, I start out with a bunch of Supercarrier questions. So the first question I had is, the question I've seen asked most is the Tomcat compatible with the Supercarrier? And Matt goes on to say, we very much expect so, as does Heat Blur. Both Eagle Dynamics and Heat Blur see enormous value of this and have been working closely together to make this happen at early access release. That's pretty cool. So what I don't know is if that means it's going to happen as soon as it drops in early access, or if it's going to come later, because I'd seen other answer to this question on one of the Eagle Dynamics forums, I think, where I think Matt or somebody, a representative of Eagle Dynamics, said that it might not happen when they do the first early release, but it will be soon after. And then the other day I saw somebody post that was a representative of Eagle Dynamics that the work is being done right now by Heat Blur to get this to happen. So I think them pushing back the release of the Supercarrier yesterday may give them enough time that the Tomcat is ready to go right out the gate. I'm really hoping so, because that personally is the plane that I want to use on the Supercarrier most. And then the other question I ask is, what kind of content, if any, will Supercarrier come with? Will there be missions, instant action missions, any campaigns with this, or is it basically like the World War II assets pack for making all your own missions, only much more in-depth? And Matt goes on to say, just as with maps, mission content is a function of the aircraft modules. We do, though, plan to offer several DCS F-18C Hornet missions that are based on the Supercarrier. That's good to know. How will the other mini games, Air Boss, Briefing Room, LSO Station, associated with the Supercarrier module work too? Matt goes on to say, these are not mini games, but rather different locations on the ship that the player can move their viewpoint to. The Air Boss Station will allow limited control of boat-like lights, barrier net, elevators, and steering. The Ready Room will allow mission planning, view plat camera, and arming in 3D environment with voice chat support. The LSO Station will allow the player to occupy the LSO platform and view the plat camera. In addition to these camera locations, we also provide camera locations at the 4 catapults, hangar deck, and more. That's pretty cool. Did Eagle Dynamics visit any specific carriers during development of this module? No, that was not really needed given the wealth of information available. Now, somebody else had asked this, and this is why I'd asked this question. Why did Ed use keyframe animations instead of motion capture for the Supercarrier? We did not keyframe the animations. All animations were motion captured from our own motion capture studio in Minsk. Will the elevators work? Yes, but we are still deciding exactly how these would function gameplay-wise. It would likely be a combination of automatic functions to open deck space for recovering aircraft and allow players in the Airboss Station to manually operate them. Will ground personnel assist during taxi and parking, and can more than one plane be doing this at the same time? Initially, deck crew will assist in catapult operations. Later in early access, we plan to add directors that will move aircraft from parking to each of the catapults. We also plan animated plane directors to move aircraft out of the landing area. Pretty cool. How will multiplayer be handled for, say, a Rio in the back seat of the F-14 on a multiplayer server? Will they need the Supercarrier module to take off or land on the Supercarrier too? Matt goes on to say, anyone taking advantage of Supercarrier to take off land, use the deck crew, and ATC communication must own the Supercarrier module. If you do not own the module, you will still see it in a multiplayer mission, but you will be unable to use it. This is true for all multiplayers in multi-crew aircraft. Fair enough. So that pretty much covered the Supercarrier related questions. Here is a variety of general DCS questions that I came up with. There was some backlash when the Viper was released in the state that it was. The vocal majority felt that if this was a third-party module, that Ed might not have certified it for early access. This is a very good question that came up a lot after the Viper, so I really wanted to ask this to these guys. Matt goes on to say, for a product we create, we are beholden to complete the product. Whereas a third-party product, there is the possibility it could be abandoned. As such, we require third-party products a higher level of completion for early access release. Fair enough. I think that's a very good definition and explanation of how things go. I hadn't considered that until I read this, so makes sense, right? Let's talk about the process Eagle Dynamics goes through to determine a module ready for early access. Is there a set of criteria that has to be met to determine worthiness for release into early access? Matt goes on to say, yes, we have checklists for different product types that must be first satisfied. These were recently updated after the F-16C early access release. We are committed to not repeating that experience, even if it results in us delaying a product release. In this modern information age we live in today, how hard is it, or how much easier has it become to gather much needed real-world data to produce a module for DCS? Matt goes on to say, it is certainly much easier than it used to be, but it can still be a great challenge, particularly regarding sensor and weapons systems. That's interesting. I guess you can find flight model stuff, you can find what's in the cockpit, but when it comes down to it, they probably do guard a lot of the sensor and weapon systems, because those are the things that are usually updated in an aircraft. It could be an old aircraft, but like an F-15, for instance, it's been around since the 70s, but I guarantee the weapon systems and sensors have been upgraded. So I guess that makes sense. There has been more sales by Eagle Dynamics on product than ever before. I want to say there was 4 sales in 5 months' time. Is everything okay financially at Eagle Dynamics? I'm not complaining, I'm just concerned. Matt goes on to say, this is no different than the past several years. We generally mirror the Steam sales between Halloween to the lunar year. More recently, though, we have greatly expanded our sales events considering the pandemic. We hope this will make this difficult time easier for virtual pilots. Fair enough. He did not say that there was any financial problems, so I would consider that good. And at the same time, it's cool that they're doing what they're doing. Here's a good one. As DCS pilots continue to always tweak their systems and upgrade hardware to gain those extra precious frames per second in DCS World, the most important question is, how soon will we have Vulkan in DCS? And with your internal testing, are you seeing that it can really utilize more cores and threads over DCS as it sits today, thus really giving us better performance we are all hoping for? Matt goes on to say, we do not have a date projection, but it is a large and complex project that we are devoted to. Once we have new information to share, we will. Boo! I wanted to hear that, yeah, it's going to be awesome. But hey, he was honest, and I'll give him that. My next question was, do you foresee Vulkan making AMD processors more viable than Intel and DCS in the future, or does the faster frequency Intel offering show marked improvement with Vulkan 2? Sorry, I do not know, and it is too earlier for us to test performance across different hardware. I was really hoping to get some answers on those two, but hey, he's being honest, and I'm cool with that. Will we ever see an improved nighttime scenario visually in DCS? At present, things look pretty bad at night, more so in areas that aren't populated with illumination, and even things look pretty washed out. Will the new graphics engine improve upon this? Now, I had asked this question before 2.5.6 had come out. So Matt goes on to say, this was recently updated in DCS World 2.5.6. As the technology marches on, we will continue to make lighting improvements. The next biggest lighting improvement will be multiple global lighting sources. Currently, it is either sun or moon, and this restricts our ability to render self-shadows. That's pretty awesome. And here's another one I had asked. With Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 on the horizon, the level of terrain detail bar has been raised significantly. Before, Eagle Dynamics was the leader in this department on the PC. What Microsoft is achieving in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 helping at all to motivate Eagle Dynamics to bring us more eye candy to DCS, visually speaking, in the future? Sorry, we don't comment on other products. Fair enough. But I've seen what Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 looks like, and they're really going to have to start pushing things. DCS still looks fantastic, though. With the addition of the new World War II map, The Channel, coming, and the new Marianas map on the way, plus tweaks recently performed on the Normandy map, P-47 getting closer, what other things is Eagle Dynamics doing making to make DCS environment more attractive? Matt goes on to say, some of the biggest ones include the damage model system, improved AI, new units for the World War II assets pack, searchlights, and we continue to improve the sighting system. That's fantastic news, because that's what I was just bitching about the other day, is the damage model. The damage model needs that overhaul bad. Improved AI would be good, plus I'm curious to see what the new assets they're going to add to the World War II assets pack. It's definitely exciting time for DCS and the World War II stuff, but they really do need everything that he mentioned in there to really make it more competitive with like IL-2. Whatever happened with modern air combat, and how does it fit in with the current Eagle Dynamics business model? Will it too have modules you can purchase to add to it, or will it be a self-contained product like Sims of the old days? Matt goes on to say, over the past year, a massive amount of work has gone into modern air combat in order to make it a very entertaining title. During this period, we have also explained the scope and features of the product's sustainability. This has led us to push back its release date to sometime in 2020. Modern Air Combat will not be a DCS World product, but rather a new series for us that focuses more on action gameplay and shallowing the learning curve. I'm excited for that, to be honest. I like the light stuff just as much as I like the hardcore stuff, so I think that's exciting. Now, here's the question that I asked that I did not expect the answer that I got, but I am super stoked that he loves this, because if he really loves this, I really feel that this might lead us in the right direction in DCS World one day, because this is the guy that, you know, has been there almost as long as probably the guy that's been running the company, I'm sure. And, you know, he is the senior producer, so if anybody has any kind of pull, I would think it's Matt. And this is so cool. So I go, so if money was no concern and you had an unlimited budget with no constraints, what module would Matt Wagner produce in a heartbeat, and why? Matt goes on to say, probably the Ah-64D Longbow Apache. Jane's Longbow 2 was one of my favorites. Wow, that's fucking awesome. Because knowing the dude loves that, and knowing who he is over at Eagle Dynamics, I really think that that means there's a very good chance in the future that if the opportunity ever arises, we may get a longbow. And longbow was one of my favorites as well. You know, I worked with Andy Hollis and Jane's and EA back in the 90s when they were doing Jane's Longbow 1 and Longbow 2. I was part of the exclusive outside beta test group. So if you look at the credits in Jane's Longbow 2 and Longbow 1 and the expansion pack for Longbow 1, you'll find my name as actually in the credits as an outside beta tester. And a lot of the guys that were in that were kind of influencers in the early days of flight sims on the internet. And a couple of the other guys that were in there went on to do other things too. I believe CJ Martin was one of the guys that worked with us on that outside beta test, and he wasn't in the software development world yet, and he went on to, I believe, work on Jane's F-15, and he had a lot of involvement in the Hornet project, which also Matt Wagner had a very large role in Jane's F-18. So a little bit of nostalgic history there for the Jane's brand and some of the products that they had done. Here are viewer general questions. Now these are questions that viewers of WarGameGuru channel here had sent in to me to ask to the guys, to ask to Eagle Dynamics. Outside of Vulcan, whatever happened to the VR optimizations? Matt goes on to say, we did in fact make several optimizations, but the level improvement was not universal for all players. We believe though the Vulcan API should bring across the board VR improvements for all. But Vulcan isn't here yet. I want it to be. What can you tell us about the lighting update? Earlier we released version 2.56 of DCS World that included improvements to the lighting system. This is most evident at night when viewing cockpits. In addition to cockpit lighting, overall world lighting appears to be more natural and balanced with improved tones. Following this, our goal will be to further enhance world lighting by allowing multiple world lighting sources. This will provide a much more natural and realistic appearance to the world. Lighting is a very large and ongoing task. Fair enough. Here's a good one. How is the dynamic campaign coming along and what can you tell us about it? Matt goes on to say, work on the dynamic campaign has been underway for over a year and the progress has been steady on this very complex task. We understand that this is one of the most awaited features in DCS World and we are giving it the attention it deserves. Much of the work is focused on dynamic campaign creation tool layers as part of the mission editor, developing machine learning mechanics, and creating an AI neural network for the RTS element of the system. The machine learning and neural network tasks are particularly challenging, but we believe they should provide a unique dynamic campaign experience. We expect to start testing this feature in the later part of 2020. Fantastic news! Another reader question or viewer question is, are there any plans to add turboprop planes to DCS? And Matt goes on to say, Razbam is developing the A29B Super Tucano. Very cool. Another question, will there ever be a way to tell how much a fuel tanker may have left? Matt goes on to say, currently the tankers do not have a fuel transfer limit. Are there any plans to add more infantry troop models to DCS, like Spec Ops, etc.? Matt goes on to say, perhaps at a later point, but there are many older units we first wish to update with new units that will have a much larger gameplay value for DCS. Next question, why do we need to exit the game in order to gain access to the module manuals? Why not have access to the module manuals in the pause menu? Matt goes on to say, with the game paused, you can certainly Alt-Tab and view the manuals. We have, though, been looking into better integrating a document viewer into the game shell. That's good news. Next question. I know the DCS community can be difficult, but is there any chance we can try to increase developer interaction with the community? Now, this was a question that was asked a while ago, and I kind of agree what Matt has to say here. They really have upped their game in terms of interacting with the community and being transparent. And Matt goes on to say, I think we already do an excellent job in interacting with the community. Between our forums, Facebook, YouTube, and Reddit, we are interacting and answering questions every day. We also have a weekly newsletter, product mini updates, and a Discord channel. In addition to our very active community managers, our company owner, Nick Gray, and CEO, Kate Peredirko, have been quite active. I also have been very active on YouTube, Facebook, and the official DCS forums, and that is 100% true. These guys have done a fantastic job. I've copied things that Nick has said in the Flight Sim News many times, and the stuff that Kate has come up with many times, things that Matt says many times. They're out there and they're doing their best to interact with everybody. Next question. Are you aware that VR hands are unusable because many switches move without clicking any button or squeezing the trigger, and is there any chance we can get that fixed? Matt goes on to say, the VR hands are very much a work in progress that we continue to update and improve. We are particularly interested in recent advancements in software-based hand tracking. Fair enough. And then the last question is, will we ever see dedicated bomber modules in DCS World? Matt says, certainly at some point, and most likely a World War II bomber first. So that pretty much covers the entire interview, which I thought was quite lengthy and rather in-depth. I'm going to include a link directly to this interview, and you can read it yourself. It's over at my WarGameGuru webpage. And pretty cool stuff, man. I like that, Matt loves longbow, and that makes me believe there's a damn good chance that may happen in the future. Maybe not the near future, but in the future. Lots of great Supercarrier questions answered. Lots of great DCS general questions answered. So, following up with the awesome roadmap update that they had done yesterday, I think this is fantastic news. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to hit that like button. And hey, until next time, guys,